Most modern vocal mixes tend to have that airy, glossy texture, and it can make them feel clearer, more lively, and more polished. But it can be really tricky to get that sound if you're not using the right tools. Your vocals might end up sounding harsh, brittle, or thin instead of clear, airy, and smooth. So in this video, I'm gonna break down exactly what you need to know about how to get that perfect polish on your vocal mix. And I'll even show you how to customize it to get different colors of that airy texture so that you can get whatever type of vocal mix you're looking for quicker and easier. Part of the struggle that I see a lot of people facing is that they're using tools that might have an air slider or an air knob, but under the hood, it's nothing more than just some simple, very high EQ bands. Now, this might make it sound a little bit airier if you're cranking a super high EQ, but technically speaking, it's definitely the wrong type of processor to use when you want to achieve an airy vocal mix, because it will destroy your sibilants, it'll make everything sound harsh and thin and brittle, and it's just not going to give your vocal that polished, modern, professional air. So if you want the highest quality vocal mix, you have to be very careful about which tools you use. Just because something looks like it might be adding air to your top end of your vocal doesn't mean that it's actually doing that with the DSP. Now with Xvox Pro 1.5, you get two completely different Air Plus algorithms to choose from. And both of these Air Plus slider modes are advanced, complex, analog modeled algorithms. And they're finely tuned to achieve two different types of vocal air. They bring up all the right amount of that airy polish and texture without bringing up harshness. We're going to take a look at two different sessions in this video and look at when we might want to use one or the other of these Air Plus slider modes. Now, the first session I've got pulled up here is a very modern R&B track. Take a listen to it. Just listen to what Xvox Pro is doing.
If you leave it up to me, this shit forever in my head was never gonna end. As soon as it began, oh yeah, baby, this shit forever. Ain't no chance for a nigga to get you back. Girl, we locked in the last night forever.
So we're getting that perfect polish and smoothness. It sounds very open and it's cutting right through the mix. But in this video, we're focusing on the airy side of the vocal, and this one definitely has a lot of air added in. This is more than I would generally use on most tracks, but for this particular vocal, it definitely needed a lot more of that air in order to give it that shine and gloss that the rest of the track has. Now you're going to notice we're using the modern mode. Let's just take a listen to the difference between modern and vintage.
If you leave it up to me, this shit forever in my head was never gonna end. As soon as it began, oh yeah, baby, this shit forever. Ain't no chance for a nigga to get you back.
So you can really clearly hear it when we solo it out like that. The vintage mode is a much more mid-forward. It's got a much silkier top end on it. And especially on the sibilants, it's even smoother than the modern mode. It's got just a very smooth top end and a little bit more mid-range to help it cut through a mix. Now, it sounds fantastic. On this particular vocal and in this style, generally you want that ultra crisp, super airy tone because the rest of the production is very bright. If the rest of the production was a bit darker, maybe a bit more of an old school type of production, then the vintage mode might be the perfect one to use. Take one more listen and really focus on the mid-range of the vocal. Listen to how the vintage mode pushes those mids forward and still gives it a nice silky top end.
If you leave it up to me, this shit forever in my head was never gonna end. As soon as it began, oh yeah, baby, this shit forever. Ain't no chance for a nigga to get you back. Girl, we locked in and that's that.
So for this particular mix where I want that super clean, super airy, modern tone, the modern Air Plus slider mode is the perfect choice. It's not that the vintage mode doesn't work well, it's just it doesn't match the same aesthetic of the rest of the track, which is super bright, super crispy. But now let's listen to these modes on a completely different mix. So this session is a completely different style. It's more of a synth pop with a retro feel to it. But we still want to give the vocal that modern, airy shine. So let's take a listen to what happens when we crank up the Air Plus slider.
I just lose control every time that you smile. Now we can't keep fighting. When I'm all alone, I still hear all your words. Now we can't keep lighting fire after fire.
So because the rest of this mix is in a more warm and full direction rather than bright and crisp, when we add that amount of Air Plus slider in the modern mode, it's giving the vocal kind of a detached, kind of plasticky sound in comparison to the rest of the mix. Now, as we just heard on the last mix, that was exactly what we wanted to give that vocal to fit with the rest of the track. But in this case, it's not working as well. Now you're going to notice as well, I'm boosting the Air Plus way more than I'm actually planning on using it in the mix. And this is a helpful technique you can use on any type of processor. Give it a lot more than you think you're going to use in order to dial in all the fine-tuning aspects of it, because this will help you understand what it's actually doing to the sound. Sometimes if you're mixing only in the very subtleties, it's really hard to know, am I in the right mode? Am I using the right algorithm? It can be very difficult to dial in. So don't be afraid to give it a lot more juice while you're dialing it in, and then dial it back to taste. So let's listen to what vintage sounds like.
I just lose control. Every time that you smile, now we can't keep fighting. When I'm all alone, I still hear all your words, and we can't keep lighting. Fire after fire. Just as soon as we put one, that one pops up.
So instantly, when we flip over to the vintage Air Plus slider mode, it just glues this entire vocal back together. With the modern mode, it sounds almost like there's two separate vocals happening. There's the airy whisper layer and the regular vocal. With the vintage mode, it just glues them right together. It actually helps it cut through the mix a little bit better because it is a little bit more mid-forward. And just in general, it gives the vocal the perfect polish for this type of mix. Take one more listen to that. Notice how the modern mode on this vocal sounds significantly more detached. It sounds a little bit plasticky and kind of fake. And when we flip over to vintage, it just brings back all the fullness and warmth to the vocal while still being extremely airy.
I just lose control. Every time that you smile, now we can't keep fighting. When I'm all alone, I still hear all your words, and we can't keep lighting. Fire after fire.
So on this mix, I would definitely go with the vintage Air Plus slider mode, and now we're just going to dial it back into taste.
I just lose control. Every time that you smile, now we can't keep fighting. When I'm all alone, I still hear all your words, and we can't keep lighting. Fire after fire. Just as soon as we put one, that one pops up.
So it really is going to vary track by track which algorithm you decide to use. If you're looking for that ultra modern, ultra crisp sound, probably the modern Air Plus slider mode is the way to go. But if you're looking for something a little more natural, with a little bit more analog color and warmth, the vintage mode is a great option. Now, of course, like anything, you shouldn't just assume that one is going to sound better than the other. These are very different algorithms under the hood, and they're going to react differently based on what you're feeding it and what direction you're taking the track in. So it's always a good idea to just experiment, keep an open mind until you hear them in your actual session, and then decide which one fits best based on what you're hearing. So with Xvox Pro, you can achieve any type of vocal airy texture that you want. I would recommend experimenting with the different modes. A lot of times I'll build my entire chain, I'll get everything dialed in how I like it, and then I'll just experiment with the different Air Plus slider modes. Maybe sometimes I want that extra clean and clear modern vocal tone, but other times I might want that vintage airy texture that just makes it sound even silkier and smoother on the top end. Now, if you're just adding a tiny bit of Air Plus, it's going to be a pretty subtle difference, of course, but you could try cranking it up and really hear what the difference is, and it's a pretty massive difference when you're flipping between them with a lot of Air Plus slider added. So it's just great to have another tonal color in your toolkit. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, drop a comment down below, and subscribe for more tutorials like this. And as always, happy mixing.